Please welcome Locomotor's Chief Strategy Officer, Justin Fishkin.
Thanks, and thanks, Kim. So I'm really excited to be here today, especially to talk to this crowd and folks representing this industry. It's been something I've hoped to do for a long time because I think what's going on now in manufacturing, what we're calling Industry 4.0, is something that you have a big role, a big part to play in. And so this represents, this slide, about 100 years of an industrial revolution. Locomotors was founded with the thought, what would Henry Ford have done differently had the internet existed when he founded the company? And what we see here is, while this is the same amount of time where, give or take, in which you went from telegraph to smartphone, the products that are coming off the line of an automotive manufacturer are still relatively similar to what we were doing over 100 years ago. We all know that electric vehicles have existed since even before Henry Ford. And what we found is the innovations have come in very small increments and have taken a long time. And so it's become potentially the biggest industry in the world, if not the biggest, one of the top two or three. And what we see because of that is adjacent industries that require a lot of capital investment and that make it hard to get out of the cycle of 7-year lead times to put out a new product and watching technology cycles that are much faster than that. The technology that's going into this upstream is much more advanced than we're able to put into the vehicle today in any amount of time that makes it relevant to the consumer. So the other piece of this is that this should never happen. The World Health Organization says that the leading cause of death for 15 to 29-year-olds in the world is automotive accidents. And 50% of them are what they call vulnerable road users, people who are on a bike, people who are on a motorbike, or pedestrians. About 1.5 million people die globally every year in vehicles. And this is relative to the other causes of death: cancer, lung disease, heart disease. This is low-hanging fruit. It's expensive. There's 100 years of history behind it, but we can save a lot of lives in the vehicular space. And so Locomotors was really founded about how do we change the paradigm of making, not how do we invent the latest electric motor or how do we produce an airbag. It was really about how do we fundamentally look at the tools we have today and start anew. And it was about fixing complexity. This is the world's first 3D printed car. It has 50 components in it. If you look at most cars on the road, there's about 20,000 components coming from as many as 500 suppliers. And you got to make a lot of them to amortize your cost and make that money back. What we see in that industry, or the OEMs, they make and then they sell. And we sort of flipped that on the head and said, we'll sell and then we'll make, because we can just make one at a time. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So our founder, Jay Rogers, really based our business on two primary components. The first is co-creation. If you think of Facebook and the internet as a revolution in communication, we really believe that we're moving into an era, and we've heard a lot about it today, of a revolution in collaboration. And that sounds, really nice to say, but in a world where, well, I'll get to that point in a second, but what you see here is about 7,000 people who initially helped design our first car in 2009, the Rally Fighter. And they did it in a distributed manner. And so what allows them to do that is that ones and zeros can now be turned into a physical good, right? So the collaboration can happen in the cloud, in a CAD model, like you see here. And then that data can be sent somewhere else, and that good can be made. And so co-creators are engineers, designers, vendors, fabricators around the world that don't work for Locomotors who participate in bringing our vehicles to market. And what that means is we're totally open from the beginning. Before we know what we're going to make, we're asking both our customer as well as who sometimes overlap, our co-creators, what they want. And so you'll see in 2012, we integrated new technologies from Intel and IBM into our Rally Fighter vehicle. You can see this vehicle this weekend if you go see the Fast and the Furious movie. It's Letty's Letty's car, it markets itself because so many people were involved in the process, and what we've become is a rapid integrator of technology. Here are some of our challenge winners. These gentlemen, and we have plenty of women in our community. I just was showing off these vehicles today, so please don't think that I didn't notice that, but these were some of the vehicles I wanted to show you. If you look at the top, for you, the top left, Sang-ho Kim was a young South Korean student who developed the Rally Fighter and gets paid a royalty for every unit he makes. Victor, or Edgar Sarmiento, who's standing next to the Ollie in the top right, is a 24-year-old Colombian student who submitted a winning design for Ollie and got paid a big check when we debuted it here in DC, or actually National Harbor, and earns a royalty for every one we sell. And what co-creation has shown us, I've compared here locomotors in the light blue, that Rally Fighter, the first vehicle we put out, to Tesla, to the Chevy Volt. So it's the Tesla Model S, the Chevy Volt, and to BMW's i3, is that we're able to bring a vehicle to market with the help of the world in about a fifth the time has ever been possible, and with about 100 times less capital. It took us $3 million to put that vehicle on the highway, versus most vehicle programs cost about $3 billion. And it's because we brought so many more people to the table, is our view. It's like what happened with Linux. With enough eyeballs, all bugs are shallow, as Linus Torvald said. Bill Joy, the founder of Sun Microsystems, said, no matter who you are, the smartest people work for somebody else. That's really ingrained in our DNA. And what somebody from Tesla or BMW often comes up to me at a conference and will say after I present the slide is, yeah, but you guys can't make 1 million units, so this isn't fair. You're deceiving people. And that gets to the next piece of our business, which is micro-manufacturing. We make vehicles in small volume locally for local use cases. Why do we do that? It sounds like totally against the way we've been taught. If you look at the current construct of the industry, it takes about 7 years to bring a vehicle to market if you're starting with a new system, right down to the materials suppliers. The best companies now can do it in about 5, and they'll tell you they do it in 3 or 4. And it's because they have this entire value chain of, bring it into 1 or 2 factories, all the different pieces, make a whole bunch of them, distribute it to their network, and then you have to sell them. For us, basically our microfactories, which are 50,000 square foot facilities in city centers or just outside, we've brought in our logistics and our suppliers right into our microfactories, as well as our customer. And like I said, we're only making things once they've been sold, and they're totally flexible. So this microfactory could make 3,000 cars a year if we were just making cars there. But we make what the consumer wants, and it allows the local community to come in and participate in saying these are the use cases we have. My intro to your industry is really through somebody who, over the last decade, has been a mentor to me, Blair Levin, who, with the work he's done with Google Fiber, the work he's done with the National Broadband Plan, and with GigU, he came, and I don't want to speak for him, but what I learned from him was he came to this understanding that a lot of decisions get made in City Hall about these capabilities that have benefits for a local community that make a tremendous impact. And so as we move this into, what we see is there's not a community in the United States that isn't asking for a microfactory, specifically because they're tired of exporting jobs to import vehicles, and they're tired of exporting wealth to import fuel. What this also allows is you to make vehicles that run on the fuel sources or feedstocks you have locally. It's not, the thing with energy is right now, at least the way I see it, it's not a supply side issue, it's a demand side issue. It's like you can't use that fuel, why make it? And so communities have had to run on oil. So this is the first 3D printed car. This came in 2014, a partnership with Oak Ridge National Laboratory. It took us 44 hours to print this car then. It's one piece. It's a unibody plus the chassis as you might think about it. And essentially we're integrating the technology after the fact. So we can be rapid integrators of technology. we call it upgradable hardware because we're local, because it's not coming from Detroit or from Ulsan, Korea, or from Japan or from Frankfurt. You're able to bring it back to us. We can strip off the technology, we can chop up that material, it's recyclable, and we can put new technology into your vehicle rapidly. So this is our Knoxville Microfactory. Basically shows the process. You drive away the same day. This is a boring slide, but important. If you look at the curve, that's where, as a mass manufacturer, it's really expensive to make a few of something, and you want to be on the far bottom right. You want to make a lot of something, bring your marginal cost of each unit down, and that shaded area on the right is what's profitable, to make a bunch. For us, it's the same price to make every unit from unit number 1 to unit 1 million. And so we're never going to make 1 million of anything, but what we've done is open up a blue sky area where it's profitable to make at small volumes, and to do that repetitively. We call it an economy of scope, whereas the last 100 years has been an economy of scale. What's happened since we were successful in vehicles is that other industries have come to us. GE Appliances, we launched a microfactory for them in Louisville, and it's called First Build, and an online community, and have brought some great products out through them. Airbus came to us, and now we have launched some great innovations with the global community with Airbus, and you may be aware of the Domino's pizza delivery vehicle. So why I think I got invited here today, beyond all that, is Ollie, which we brought to market in, it took us about 8 weeks from deciding that we wanted to build it, to bring it to market, and it started with an urban mobility challenge in Berlin. That's the challenge that Edgar won. Basically, it's a full mobility system. It's the front end, like an app. You call it on Uber. It's an open-ended, I'm here, take me there, or it can be closed loop, like a circulator. You get the vehicle with it, and then you get the back end for managing it, for monitoring. And what's interesting is when we're talking about AR and VR, there are communities in the world right now, Singapore, Tokyo, others, that are thinking about, hey, if I have a tourist in this thing, how about they could say something or interact with Watson, and we could show them what this street looked like in 1920, right on the side of the vehicle from the inside. And there are a lot of companies, be it Panasonic, LG, Asahi Glass, who are working on the transparent display. And so maybe you don't put it on. Maybe you're riding in it. We'll see. Maybe you're doing both. This is just some. We have some great videos. This is just some testing video that I like only because it shows vehicles zooming by at high speed on that highway in Arizona near our Phoenix microfactory versus sort of the market we're entering first with Ollie, which is the low-speed electric vehicle market. Ollie, it's capped out at 25 miles an hour, and we're doing that for a lot of reasons. But primarily, we think it's the right place to enter the autonomous market. There's a huge global market on campuses, on corporate, college campuses, on corporate campuses, at ports, all over the world, where low speed works, and it's acceptable for people to getting to know this technology before you put it on the highway. And what we're able to do is use the same hardware that's in the vehicles going 100 miles an hour down the highway, where people are filming themselves with their hands off the wheel, and we're able to do it at a much slower speed. Just the last 2 slides. So basically, because Ollie is upgradable and because it's made locally, we're able to keep up with the technology cycle times. So the things that power autonomous vehicles, like sensors, like LiDAR, any number of items, even if we're talking about the things that aren't powering the vehicle, like new display technologies or VR technologies, we can keep putting it in. We view Ollie as a box through which we just keep commercializing technologies to our customers. Because we're just bringing it back in 10 miles down the road, and we're integrating the latest technology. So part of our value proposition is you're always going to have the best LiDAR, as opposed to you're buying or leasing a vehicle. Until you lease a new one, you're not going to get better LiDAR. Here's some of the services that we offer as part of this subscription service that Ollie's basically either full sale to a municipality or government or corporation, or it's or it's on subscription just like your cell phone. And then this is my last slide. Basically, this down in the bottom right was National Harbor. Our National Harbor team is here. We hope you'll come visit us. But what this whole digitization and Industry 4.0 piece of it allows for is to educate so kids on the same models that the experts are working on. And so they can come in and test out ideas, 3D printing on little machines, and then we can take it into the big machine. And that's been fascinating, and I encourage you to come see a mini Ollie that a number of these students worked on over in the corner later. So that's all the time I have. Thank you for listening, and thanks for having me.
Well, Justin, before you leave, you make an electric shuttle that drives itself, but what's really standing between you and all of us, right, getting to actually ride in this electric shuttle right here in Washington, D.C.?
Nothing. I mean, we just we gotta get it done, right?
Really?
So we have a facility at National Harbor. We're negotiating with both the state of Maryland and the state of Virginia about our microfactory to do it. And DC's actually been pretty forward-thinking in their approach to autonomy, which is fantastic.
So it's not just going to be on private roads, but you are approved to do it on public roads.
Well, the good news, and I have to talk about this broadly, is that we can start on private roads everywhere.
Right.
And as each jurisdiction decides to make decisions about autonomy, we can be ready to go. So, and what we're seeing is every jurisdiction is doing it at a different speed. And so I'm not going to tell you what DC is going to do, but we see movement for sure.
But I think that we do need to accelerate that process. But I commend you and many other companies out there that are innovating very, very quickly, particularly in this autonomous driving space, that you are taking the path of least regulation, I mean resistance, to bring these great technologies to market.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. I'd also say we're taking the safest path. The other thing that WHO will tell you is that at 50 miles an hour, if you were to get struck by a vehicle, you have a 60% or better chance of dying as an adult. At 30 miles an hour, you have a less than 20% chance of dying. Our vehicle goes 25 miles an hour. And so whether it's insurability, whether it's safety, people are willing to, people have appetite for that risk, especially when so many people are already, so many pedestrians are dying today. It's almost unfathomable to do worse than we're doing.
Right, exactly. But there's still an issue of safety when it comes to technology, and along with it, there's also an issue of liability that must be addressed, I think, quickly by lawmakers. Who's responsible for an accident if it does occur? Is it the platform the software was created on, the self-driving software itself, or was it operator error? And I think lawmakers actually do need to create policy that requires every single one of these autonomous vehicles to have a little black box that does that analysis.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's probably true. But what we're seeing is a number of the biggest insurance companies in the world are competing to be a part of Ollie and part of the subscription that we're offering to people because at low speed they want to own the data set. And that's obviously very important to everybody here, whether it's advertising data, whether it's the vehicle data that's being kicked off, or whether it's the safety data. It makes sense for them to enter at low speed on private campuses where we can talk to the theme park operator about that, and where we can be very clear without regulators being involved whose liability it is. That's the only thing that's going to allow us to move to public roads.
Perfect. Big round of applause for Justin Fishkin. Amazing local motors, always on the cutting edge.